Hello. Catholic Answers Live Super Show. Thanks for coming. I'm Cy Kellett. It's a new thing we're doing. Don't be startled. If you just were waiting for the show to come on and this woke you up and you're like, what are they doing? This isn't how they usually start the show. Where's that crazy music? Super Show is when we add an extra hour to the beginning of the show and then we get a little fancy during the show. And the getting a little fancy during the show is like today, our guest will be William Albrecht, both hours on the live show. And so everybody that's listening on radio stations is going to hear ads at the breaks, but not you. You're here, and we'll just chat with William Albrecht. We'll check the social media, and maybe somebody's got something they want to throw at William during the break, or a shout out to William. Is shout out still a thing? You get to a certain age where you're like, I just don't know if these things are things anymore. And you're not sure anymore what the things are. Edgar Lujano is assistant to the host here.
Assistant host.
And Edgar, second Super Show number 2.
Super Show number 2. It's good to be here as the assistant host. It's always great.
Okay.
Thanks for the acknowledgement. I appreciate that. Yep.
All right. So you're married and you have a baby?
I am married and have a baby, and he wakes up every 3 hours.
All right, good. We got to know Edgar. That's probably enough of that. I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You can make it a thing. I know.
It's nice you have a nice family.
It's because people like me. That's why.
People do like you. I think you're people like you. I mean, once they get over a couple things.
Tell me about those things.
Well, no, I don't want to talk about them.
Maybe on the 3rd or 4th Super Show.
Yeah, right. We'll get into it. Well, right. We'll get. Did you watch the TV at all this weekend because of your growing family, or do you just watch the baby?
We do put the TV on. The problem is he's starting to watch it, and it's like, actually, this is not a good thing.
Oh, he gets drawn into the TV.
He already does. So what we'll do is we'll put the baby bouncer thing facing us away from the TV, and I kid you not, he just like completely turns to watch the TV. It's like, this kid, you're only 4.5 months. Stop it. So I think we need to be a little more prudent and stop watching TV.
Well, it's probably the shows that you and Lena watch. I mean, I know that you two spend a lot of time with SpongeBob SquarePants, so maybe you should watch some more grown-up shows.
Maybe. We watched The Good Doctor.
I never seen that.
It's pretty good.
It is?
Because of The Good Doctor. It is, except when they start getting their, like, the social justice, secular social justice stuff. Secular
American
social justice.
American secular media with its religion that it pretends it is not a religion.
Exactly.
Really, really, Edgar. I'm shocked to hear that. All right. The reason I asked if you watched TV this weekend was they had huge protests all across America, also in some other countries. I'm not quite sure about why they were doing it in other countries. But it was the No Kings protests.
Did they have those in places where they had monarchs?
Yeah, but I think they probably in Hawaii. I noticed the signs say No Dictators. Do you know why? Because I think there's a lot of Hawaiians who actually do want to have a king. They want the king to come back.
The Hawaiian king, not the American king.
Right.
Oh wait, there was never an American king.
Well, no, that's right. There was never an American king. Yeah, I don't know why I said well. I mean, I don't know. But I was like, now let me clarify some of his. No, right, we never had an American king.
I did know about the No Kings protest because Saturday I specifically avoided downtown.
Oh yeah,
yeah, they were all over the place downtown San Diego, and it was actually apparently a pretty peaceful protest. So much so that I think it was the Instagram page of the San Diego Police Department saying, thanks for keeping it classy, San Diego. Basically saying, thank you for not destroying the city.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Well, because sometimes when people are protesting, the people in the black clothes come out and start fights.
Ah, yes, those people.
So, yeah, and they didn't have any of that.
Not in San Diego.
At my house, because we live next to Camp Pendleton, it was noisy all day because they did. The vice president came, Vice President J.D. Vance, and then I think Pete Hegseth, the secretary. Can you say Secretary of Defense anymore? I don't even know.
Secretary of War?
Is he Secretary? What is he?
I think so.
I don't know. Is it Gulf of America or Gulf of Mexico? Are we sticking to the Gulf of America thing?
That is one topic I'm not going to touch.
Really?
No, I'm not going to go there.
Really?
I just don't want to go there.
So I don't actually know what things are called anymore. Is that that's how unsettled I don't know what things are called.
Columbus Day or
Columbus Day is definitely Columbus
or
Day.
Indigenous Peoples
Well,
Day.
some states they named it Indigenous People Day, and I think that you know my feelings on this. I think that's the cheesiest thing ever.
Calling it Indigenous people.
No, I think Indigenous people should have a day.
Just don't.
Why are you picking Columbus Day? That's not the day to celebrate Indigenous people. That's the worst day to celebrate. Pick another day. Well, we should have, I don't know, states that have, I don't know, maybe they should have tribe days, like Navajo Day and Hopi Day or whatever. I think that's great.
And that probably fill the calendar, because how many different tribes were there in America?
Now you're on to me. I believe we need twice as many federal holidays. Twice as many federal holidays. So I'd do one for every tribe or nation of the people who were here first. I just think it's like you're the only reason to have Indigenous People Day is to tick off the Italians. That's a terrible idea. Just give them their own day.
Hey,
I think we should have Indigenous Peoples Week.
But wait a minute, wasn't Columbus sailing on behalf of Spain, even though he was Italian?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah,
okay.
He was an Italian.
Sailing for Spain.
I mean, he didn't think of himself as an Italian because I don't think people thought of him. But he's from
one of those kingdoms.
Naples. No, is he Naples? Is he in Neapolitan? We don't know, but somewhere over there.
Anyway,
do you know why? Wait, do you know why Columbus sailed? What was his ultimate plan?
Wasn't it to get to India? That was
No.
That's what they taught me in third
remembers.
grade.
Nobody remembers why Columbus sailed. The reason Christopher Columbus sailed was to free the city of Jerusalem, and everyone has forgotten that. That was his plan.
I've never heard that.
That was his whole plan, and everybody acts like that never happened. Look it up. Just type into ChatGPT. Did Christopher Columbus sail, or whatever you type it into? Did Christopher Columbus sail across the Atlantic to free the city of Jerusalem? And the answer is yes.
I've never heard this before.
No.
Thanks, public education, for failing me.
Well, I don't know why we just forget these things. It's like
that feels like that's been scrubbed completely from any.
But why would you scrub it? It doesn't seem like something that would. I don't know. But Columbus was a deeply Christian man who wanted to free the city of Jerusalem from the. It was under not Ottomans, but Muslims.
Wait, is he pulling my leg, Darren? Or is this a real thing? You have no idea. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to fact check.
Do you have
ChatGPT
ChatGPT there? Just type in, did Columbus want to free, or did he
All right,
was
I'll
his
check.
plan to
I'll check.
free the city of Jerusalem? And nobody remembers this. Any biography of Columbus will tell you this.
Gabby and AC is confirming that he's from Genoa.
Oh, Genoa.
Genoa.
Yeah. He's
no,
Genoa. I should have remembered.
Isn't that where they get the salami?
Are there Italian cities where they don't get salami? I don't know. But yes, Genoa salami is famous. All right. I want to talk about the No Kings thing, though. And because it hit me this morning. Wait, you looked it up on ChatGPT? Are you on the air?
Yeah, it said that's a great question, of course, and a surprisingly insightful one.
Yeah.
It says not directly, but yes, in part, Christopher Columbus did see his voyage as a step toward ultimately freeing Jerusalem from Muslim control.
No way.
Nobody knows it anymore. And ChatGPT knows it and also tells Darren what a great question he had. This is why I love ChatGPT. That's an insightful question. That's what ChatGPT always tells me. My question is so insightful. Okay, so I had this insight nobody is talking about, and I wanted to talk about it on the No Kings thing. And the No Kings protest is really, at least the way I understand it, and somebody will say, oh, you got it wrong, that's not what we were doing out there, but the way I understand it is people see Donald Trump as an authoritarian figure with they see the signs of authoritarianism, and they just want to go out in the street and say no, all right? And this is in the great American tradition of street protests. I don't want to argue with people what they protest about. This is the tradition in America. The left protests the right protests the left, and that's just what we do. And I actually think it's a good, healthy, great tradition. But I don't like the No Kings thing, and I got this in my, and it has nothing to do with politics. Why I don't like it. I think it points to something deeper in our American psyche. And I want to compare it to, and here, get ready, 100 years ago, exactly 100 years ago, this decade, Viva Cristo Rey.
Que viva.
There you go. What? ¿Eres mexicano?
Sí.
So the Viva Cristo Rey movement, or the Cristero movement, is specifically a movement to recognize Christ as the king of culture. To not say we have no king, but the whole idea of overcoming tyranny is it's not the same impulse, but I think it's the same desire of the heart, is to not be oppressed by tyrants. And there's two different ways of going about that. One is to say society has a king, and for that reason we can have self-government. We can have we can choose our form of government, whatever. But there's a moral direction to the world, and there is a spiritual center to the world, and that is the person of Jesus Christ. The other way to do it is to say, we don't need Jesus, we got this. We're on our own. And so I'm not trying to make any comment about the no kings thing. I'm just saying, think of two different images. And if we listen to what people are saying, often the surface thing reveals an inner kind of dynamic of the heart and of the culture. And it's very American to have, and it's not the only American view, but it's very American to do this no kings thing, where what we want is basically we're the final authority. The people are the final authority. And I'll be honest with you, I don't believe the people are the final authority. I don't believe in that. Now, there is a certain modified way in which you can understand that to be the case, but Christ is the king. And nothing the people do or choose or undertake will flourish and prosper if there is not an acknowledgement of God at the center of things. And so you have maybe right about the same time as the Cristeros. I can't remember when the poem was written, but about the falcon can no longer hear the falconer, the Irish poet, William Butler Yeats. And that is, the falcon goes out far, in the poem, the falcon goes out farther and farther from the falconer, and then he can't hear the falconer anymore. And so now he has nothing that he's flying around. And then that's where we get the phrase from this poem, the center cannot hold. The falcon now is just flying. What was a life that had at its center the falconer who could call it home, who could care for it, who could give it a life of meaning, now the falcon is just off on its own. The center did not hold, and off it goes. And I think those are the two images. And so while the impulse against tyranny, I think, is, of course, a very, very good one, the image that says Viva Cristo Rey is a better modernity. It will give us a better and healthier modernity than the movement that says no kings. Because I am free because Christ is God. I have a purpose, and my society has a purpose because Christ is God. There are things we will not do. There are things we cannot do because Christ is God. He's the falconer that everything we do, we circle around the falconer, whose voice keeps us from just going off into complete nuttiness. The other view is we are the people, we do what we want, and the people are sovereign, not in a modified sense of the people are sovereign under God, but the people are just plain out, straight up, bare knuckle sovereign. Do what you want. That is a recipe for disaster. And we can go all the way back, I think, to King David and the Psalms. And this line of scripture has been stuck in my head, I think, for 25 or 30 years. Because it is a description of the modern world. King David perfectly described the modern world. Psalm 127, unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build. Do you see? Unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in... It's not that we don't build our own society, but we build with God, or we're laboring in vain. And the two images that we can get from the book of Genesis, the call of Abraham comes right after. There's a little bit of stuff that happens in between, but essentially the call of Abraham comes right after the story of the Tower of Babel. And the story of the Tower of Babel is, let's build a great city and a tower. Why? To make a name for ourselves. Okay, and that comes to disaster. And is this because God does not want us to have glory, does not want us to have a name for ourselves? Well, immediately following then, the call of Abram, I will make of you a great nation, a people more numerous than this sand. Wait, so there's two ways to glory for human beings, and we have to choose which way of glory do we want. One of the ways is, we'll do this. We got this, God. We'll do this on our own. We got it. Back off. We don't need you. Or we don't even believe in you. The other is the Abrahamic way, the way of following God in faith and receive the glories that he wants to give us. So you can try to achieve glory, or you can receive glory. And it doesn't, the scripture, it's not like Abraham, when Abram becomes Abraham, it's not like he doesn't do anything. God's way of calling us is not to say now, like some people say to God, I got this. God doesn't say to us, I got this, don't do anything. It's follow me. The things that you do, the order given to your steps will be the order of my voice calling you and showing you where to go. And if you don't do that, the center won't hold. Let me ask you this. When you look around at the world today, does it look to you like the center is holding? Or does it look to you like the whole thing is beginning to fly apart? Maybe even far beyond the point of beginning to fly apart. And does it look like we are in store for prospering? Not prospering just financially or technologically, but as a culture, as a society, prospering or not? Just reading a headline just before, there's I think her name is Sanae Takaichi, just became the first woman to become Prime Minister of Japan. And the news feed that I was reading, right under that story, it says Japan's population dropped by 900,000 last year. They're not having any babies in Japan. Japan has all the technical skill, all the wealth you could ever want. It's one of the most advanced societies and the wealthiest societies in the history of the world. And they will not prosper. They will not until they have children. You can't have your population drop by almost 1 million how many years can you go on losing 900,000 a year and still have a society that doesn't just fracture and collapse? You may say 100 years, we could lose 100. No, it won't go on for 100 years. It will start to fracture and collapse far before that. And technology is not going to make up for the deficit of culture. Technology is not going to make up for the deficit of something at the center of culture to hold it and give it the proper order. And what we say as Christians is that something is the person of Jesus Christ. Unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build. The Lord himself, Jesus, I will build. That's what he said. I will build my church. What? He himself is a builder. He came to us as a builder, as a man who physically built. And then he told us that he's the builder of a church. What does the church offer? It offers the voice of God to follow, to give order to our steps, to give peace to our society, to give us a center around which endless things, endless glories can be had. But if we won't receive the glory of God at the center of all of it, if we won't allow God to be the center of all of it, if we say no kings, look, I don't believe that the no kings people are atheists. I'm not accusing them of being all atheists or evil. I'm not. They are part of a wonderful American tradition, a tradition of getting out in the street and with your handmade sign and doing your thing. Fine. I'm not fussing at them about that. I don't know if they're most protests are not effective. I've been to a lot of protests in my life. I can tell you most of them are not effective. So, but also most of them are not counterproductive. They're just part of what a society does, at least our society does, while it's working things out. I'm not saying they're all atheists. I'm saying that underneath these messages, look at how distinct this is. Viva Cristo Rey, that's the call for liberation in Mexico. Long live Christ the King. And then in this modern contemporary American setting, no king. I guess what I'm pointing to is an irony. I'm not pointing to like Mexicans are great and North Americans are no. I'm not trying to glorify or denigrate anybody. The point is, look under this language and you see the basic choice we've been given all the way from the time of the Tower of Babel, the story of the Tower of Babel that leads into the history of the man Abram, who is a historical figure who God actually called out of the land of the Chaldees into a new country. That actually historically happened. And God made promises to Abraham that we marvel at because, what is it, 4,000 years later? But almost 4,000 years later, we see they have come true many, many, many times over. And the descendants of Abraham are innumerable, that no one could count the descendants of Abraham. So we need Christ as king. And this is something that the church has become more and more, and you know that this is how we finish our liturgical year every year. The liturgical year starts with the anticipation of the birth of the little baby, but it ends with the Feast of Christ the King. Now, it didn't always. The Feast of Christ the King used to come earlier in the year. But there's a variety of reasons why it moved. But I love the idea that we end our whole liturgical year. Like all of this has come full circle now. That's what the calendar says to me. Sure, he's a little baby, you know, when in the manger. And sure, like even Abram, he's just one little guy. This starts out very, very small. But it goes around, and by the end, that small thing turns out to have been the crucial thing, the thing that made crucial meaning the cross, I guess, but crucial in the sense that it's essential as well. So you get to the end of the liturgical year, and there is the feast of Christ the King. Because, and it's not, you know, the feast is not called the Feast of Christ the King. It's I think the full title of it, I don't know if they use the name of Jesus in it, but I think the full title is the Feast of Jesus Christ, King of the Universe. And so we got to remember as Christians, Christ is king in this divine sense, in the supernatural sense, but you know he's also king in the natural sense. He is the natural king of everything. All of this belongs to him. This is his kingdom, the entire universe. He is in the same way that Charles, or in a way roughly the same as the way that Charles is the king of England, or I can't think of any other kings. I know I was going to say Juan Carlos in Spain, but is Juan Carlos still king of Spain? Do you know? Do you happen to know?
No idea.
No say.
No lo sé.
So I can't remember. I think Juan Carlos is the king of Spain, but you get the idea. Or the emperor. The emperor is the king in Japan.
It's Felipe
right?
the
Right there. What's
Sixth. Felipe the Sixth.
Felipe the Sixth. Lo siento. El rey Felipe Seis. Seis or el seis?
Sexto.
Sexto. Okay, sexto. Thank you. So what did I just say then?
Philip Six.
Did I say I'm sorry, Philip Six?
Philip Six.
I'm sorry for that too, Philip Six. So look, so Jesus is both the supernatural and the natural king of this universe. He was born on the day that he was born. Everything around him belonged to him. Everything belonged in subjugation to him, not in a negative way, but in the sense that he is the ruler of it. And it can't really be in a negative way with him because he's not capable of anything negative. His rule is always benevolent. So from the moment that that little baby is born, he is the rightful king of all of this. It all belongs to him. Why is that important? Because we want to have a Christian nation run by priests. No, of course not. That is not what we're saying when we say Christ is the king. What we're saying is that there's at the center of things an obligation we have to recognize him as the one to whom all of this belongs, so that when we go vote, and look, if I go vote and I vote for something really bad, like let's say euthanasia, I vote for euthanasia. Okay, maybe the people have done this too. They voted for this euthanasia of the disabled, of the profoundly disabled, because they don't have a quality of life. And I believe it's more. If I do that, I am, of all the other things I am a rebel against the king of this universe, because he has told us, he's made clear, especially through his church, but through scripture as well, but especially through the ministry and teaching of his church, that the taking of these innocent lives by government power or by whoever takes them is the grossest immorality, a true and vicious evil. And then I go and vote for it because I think, well, I think whatever. Okay, that now, maybe that was disrespectful to imply that people who vote for euthanasia are dumb. That's not what I was trying to say. But what I'm trying to say is, okay, whatever your reasons are, you, in addition to every other sin you committed in voting for euthanasia, at the heart of what you did, you rebelled against the king of this universe. A king who is king by birth and by the proving of himself on the cross, that he is worthy to have everything under his feet. So I will never say no, kings. I don't believe in tyranny, but I will never say no, kings. Viva Cristo Rey. That's the way we fight tyranny. The proper way to fight tyranny is to know that this world has a king. It ain't me. It ain't Donald Trump. It ain't Joe Biden. It ain't Mark Zuckerberg. And out of all those, probably the most powerful is Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know for sure. It ain't none of those people. It's not Google. It's Walmart. None of those are king of this universe. Jesus is king of this universe. And our actions either recognize him as king or deny him as king. And if we don't recognize him as king, it doesn't hurt his feelings. It makes it impossible for us to flourish as a people, as a nation, as a planet. Viva Cristo Rey!
Que viva.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Graham on YouTube says, "Sigh for king."
All right, I want to say, Graham, you get it, buddy. You got it. And everyone else missed the subtle subtext there, but you got it.
We have a first-time chatter, is that a right word? Chat person chatting on Twitch.
I like chatter.
Lupe the Mag says, "Why do you think people are drawn to that form of activism?" I'm assuming
Protesting?
Protesting, yeah.
What's the name of the person? Lupe?
Lupe the Mag.
Lupe, get out to a protest sometime. First of all, it's fun. You get a nice little bit of exercise, and you get to stand up for whatever the thing is that you believe in standing up for. I've been in pro-life protests. I've been in anti-war protests. I've probably been in some other protests that it would not profit me to talk about on the air in my current employ. I was in an anti-war protest one time, and this was in Boston about 1,000 years ago, and all of a sudden the Marxists took over. And this is something that they do. They were Maoists, and they just, all of a sudden, all these red flags went up in the air, and I'm like, I'm in the wrong protest. But that's what they do. They make it so that they could try to make it look like all these people are out here are supporting the Marxists. So I believe I went and got a donut at that point. But that's which is my way of saying I reject the Marxists. I went into the marketplace and bought a pastry.
You supported the free market.
I supported the free market. Yes. Yeah, I did. Yeah. But I like it. If you have to ask why do people get out and protest, you never done it. It's fun. It's a gas. And also,
There's a great sense of community to it. I mean,
There
you're out
is,
there
yeah.
with people that, it can sometimes feel isolating when you're trying to stand up for something that needs to be stood up for.
Right.
And when you're out there and you're marching, there's a sense of community that you feel like you're actually a part of something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Walk for Life that they have up in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
Have you been to that?
Yeah, I actually started going when I was 16.
Did you really?
Yeah, the pastor of my parish, Father Peter Coretta, God bless his soul and God rest his soul, he would take the entire youth group in just buses full of people from the parish. And
God bless him.
And I remember one of the first times that I went, I was with my mentor, John, and with Father Peter, and a counter-protester was there just screaming just obscenities at Father, and John goes and pushes me from behind and says, "Get in front of Father." Get in the way. It's like, don't let him do that.
Were you as tall then as you are now?
So
they were making you the bodyguard.
Yes,
You're
I
a
was.
16-year-old
At
kid.
16 years old.
Oh,
Can you
man.
believe that?
Yeah.
But it's that March for Life in San Francisco is something just amazing.
Yeah, but okay, so you might go, well, what does that do? One of the things it does is it lifts the spirits of all the people who are there. It gives witness to other people. I mean, it's not always going to be the case like, oh, we've got 20,000 people to march through the streets of San Francisco. Abortion's over. That's not the case, but it does something. You know?
I think that one of the last times that I went, there were a couple with a little baby in a carrier and saying, just thanking everybody for being there because it's because of these marches that they actually decided to choose life.
Choose life for the baby.
Yeah, that they actually had an abortion appointment and they ended up not showing up. Yeah.
Was the baby cute?
Baby was cute.
Yeah, babies are good.
Yes, they are.
Viva Cristo Rey.
Que viva.
What is that? I have to say, I've never quite understood like if I said, Viva la Virgen, right? Mm-hmm. And there was Mexicans around, they'd all go, Que viva. Mm-hmm. If I said, Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe, they'd all say, Que viva. Mm-hmm. I don't know like in English, it's hard to translate that.
Because what you're saying is long live Christ the King.
And so you're saying
Lady Guadalupe.
That she live if I say Que viva?
What you're saying is, I'm assuming it's, of course, wishing well to the person that you're saying, but also proclaiming that the message continues to live on of that which you're proclaiming. So if you're saying Our Lady Guadalupe, may you continue to prosper in terms of.
But what does Que viva literally mean? That you live?
That you live, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Kind of the reaffirmation that you live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Unless the Lord build the house, they labor in vain who build. I cannot get over that. I think it's a perfect description of the modern world. We build. What good does it do us if we don't have God at the center of it? What possible good is it doing us without God at the center of it?
Lupe the Mag responded, "Nope, I've never done it in any form."
I'm not telling you to do it, Lupe. That's not for everybody. I'm just saying, I think that there is a kind of spirit to that kind of thing but I'm one of those people, like, I like big crowds, and if you don't like big crowds, it's probably not that much fun for you.
Yeah.
But it's like, why do people go to the canonization, when there's, like, they just canonized the saint from Armenia.
Yeah.
And, 100,000 people come out. It's kind of fun to be with 100,000 people. I mean, it's also, you're going for the canonization, but
Unless you go there and you're trying to get to the front and an Armenian grandmother just elbows you in the ribs trying to get in the way,
Well, you know what? It's your own fault. If you got between an Armenian grandmother in the front of the crowd, that's your own darn fault. Get your act together, man. Everybody knows that. Look, I think that's the oldest proverb in the book. Don't get between an Armenian grandmother and then just finish that with whatever you got. What is this show that we're doing, Edgar? What is this show?
That's a great
What
question.
is it?
Because it's not your typical Q&A like the next 2 hours are going to be.
No, we got William Albrecht coming on for
Yep.
the next 2 hours. That'll be a totally different kind of sound than what we're doing now. So what are we doing right now?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Yes, that's a.
You
I sound like
said that
ChatGPT, right?
You said that like, yeah, you did. You sounded like ChatGPT. That's a great question.
And very thought provoking too. Well, that's something for us to figure out, and actually for the chat to help us figure out in some way. So, obviously, it's not your typical Catholic answers production of Q&A. Fellow chat on Twitch and YouTube, tell me, what do you think this first hour should be?
I'll watch YouTube and see what people say. Because here's what I think of this program that we're doing, this first hour of Super Show. First of all, Super Show is a way to grow Catholic Answers Live without repeating ourselves. We've got 2 hours that are well established, but we don't want to repeat that. We want to expand. And partly, my thinking, there's a lot of people who just, that's not their thing, and we want to reach those people. I sometimes feel like there's not enough concern in some parts of Catholic media. I don't mean when I'm saying that people like Father Mike Schmitz. Like I really think he's a superstar in this regard. But for people who are innocently confused or have a very low connection to Christianity, there's a kind of way we can alienate them sometimes when, well, why should I be Catholic and not Orthodox? Well, they don't actually know the difference between Catholic and Orthodox. They don't, and so we want to reach them in. Liz B says I sounded like a robot for a minute. Did you really need to say that, Liz B? Now my feelings are hurt. I'm in the middle of. I feel like we're going to work on creating a new this new media. This part of what we do in order to be accessible to some people that we are not currently accessible to, or to be of interest to some people we are not currently of interest to. So, but we wanted your opinions. We said, well, if we're going to do the show, let's talk to the people, because we do want it to be much more interactive as well.
Lupe the Mag says it should be a thoughts of the world today kind of show where you talk about recent events or issues through the Catholic lens.
Wait, read that again. I think Lupe hit it, nailed it right on the head.
Thoughts of the world today where you talk about recent events or issues through a Catholic lens.
The Catholic lens thing I really like. I mean, I don't want to be picky, but you don't actually talk through a lens, you look through a lens. So, but I get what you're saying, Lupe. No,
Do you though? Do you?
No, I do that all the time. That's called. I think that's called mixing a metaphor. And constantly they're having to look at my writing and be like, "Did you want to say it that way?" Because I don't know if you know how a lens works. I like this one. Bayerer said, "The View, but not awful." I like it. That should be. We should put that on the wall, right? They just put a big sign up there to remind us of the view, but not awful. Why is the View awful? I never watched The View. I get this is my impression of The View. Okay, as a person who's never watched it, this is my impression of The View.
And canceled.
but that's just because of what I hear people say about that. I've never seen it. I don't know what they do on The View. It's weird how you have an impression of a thing that you don't actually have direct experience of.
Well, we all have that one voice that we always go to whenever you're imitating something or someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, not to put my wife on blast, but she has a specific voice for whenever she talks for somebody else, and it's always an East Coast accent, and I don't know why.
Like she's like, oh, and then she was like, and she talks like an East Coast,
but it's an East Coast accent. I love you. I know she's watching. So, yeah.
Oh, now they're just saying names.
Yeah, let's not
The
go
View.
there. I know. Helpful Hero said, "Save your brain cells. Don't watch The View." So.
I'm watching it now. Well, wait a second. What if?
Let
me ask you
brain cells
this.
to spare.
Let me ask you this, internet people. What if Edgar and I watched The View, and then we got little sound clips from it, and we came here and we talked about whatever they were talking about from a Catholic perspective? What do you think about that? Is that a good idea? I'm watching the internet to see if the internet likes me. The most important thing in life, and I think everyone should always remember this, is whether or not the internet likes you. There's nothing more important.
Is that it?
I
think that's what Abraham Lincoln said.
Abraham, he was big into that. Yeah. I don't know what you all are talking about, but you're not answering my question, internet people.
Mr. Graff says The View is an amazing show when Norm Macdonald is on. Norm Macdonald's funny.
Norm Macdonald's the greatest. Norm Macdonald's, he's just, there's nobody like him. I mean, it's hard to say the greatest because there are really, truly several magnificent, great comics of his generation, but he's awful good.
Lupe says, call it A Better View.
How about like this? No, your idea was better than mine. I just canceled myself. I'd stop myself. No, please don't subject us to sound bites from those. I'm not saying that word, Michael. We don't call people shrews on the air. I'm not going to repeat your uncharitable way of phrasing yourself. Like, have you ever called someone a shrew? Have you?
I'm going to be honest. I don't know what a shrew is. I know what a shroot is.
Dwight Schrute.
Dwight Schrute.
Yeah. A shrew is a small animal, but it's also a...
oh, yeah, that's right.
It's like sometimes people use a word for female dog to talk about women.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that word on the air.
Say it.
But the most fun you can have in life is watch the Westminster Dog Show with your little kids.
Shrews are actually kind of cute.
Oh, you're looking at a shrew?
Yeah.
But it's like people use, when people call a woman a shrew.
It's like a rodent with a long nose.
Yeah.
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 So?
Shakespeare wrote a play called The Taming of a Shrew. Last time I watched an episode of The View was in 2005. It's been on that long? Holy smokes, no wonder our culture is going to... I can't say the word in a handbasket. I couldn't tell you what I watched because I was a bored 5-year-old.
At that point, you were probably watching Power Rangers, let's be honest.
Isn't it funny that the gals are named... Oh, no. I'm not...
Let's not go there.
Michael,
Let's not go there.
Michael,
Michael, be nice. Come on.
He's using words that I won't say. One of them is shrew, but I'm not saying it on the air. And then making fun of people's names. We're not doing that, Michael. Michael, by the way, is one of our favorite people. Let me show you something.
Michael is very observant because whenever Cy does something and messes things up and hits the wrong button...
Michael made that.
He makes...
The Lord of the Buttons.
The Lord of the Buttons. Actually, I'll be honest with you. I've actually used that as well because I've...
When you messed up, you put it up here?
Yep.
It's like a little tradition we have now.
It is. So what is this show and what is it not?
What is this show? We don't want to know what you think of The View anymore, okay? That's not... We got sidetracked there. We want to know what you think that this show should be. Or here, let me give you a more helpful question. This might be a little more... have a little more direction to it. If you could have this show cover something, respond to something, a program, a quote, a person, a book, a movie, what would you like the program to respond to through the Catholic lens? I'm stealing Lupe's thing. Through the Catholic lens. Here in the UK, the version we have of The View is called Loose Women. Is that really... I'm going to look that up.
All right, let's not get canceled and moving on.
Okay. Big Stack is very nice. He said, love it, whatever you do. Thank you, Big Stack.
I got to say, Big Stack is one of the kindest people that I've met.
He's an extraordinary person.
Yeah, it was great seeing you at the conference, Big Stack.
Yeah. Who's taller, you or him?
He's taller than I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only seeing clips of it. Oh, no, we're still talking about the...
We're still talking about The View.
About The View. I'm trying to get us to stop talking about The View. I feel like The View is a thing you can make fun of without ever having seen it. Like, that's what I do. Like, I was teasing about it, but...
What if you were invited onto The View?
What would I... Why on earth would... Oh, somebody... They were like...
Maybe they're like, how to talk about Jesus with anyone.
Oh, if they wanted to talk about Jesus, I'll go anywhere to talk about Jesus. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd go anywhere to talk about Jesus. Call it Flannel Panel Light. Michael, this is not your day, all right? You're a great person. Just maybe sit a couple of these out. Just maybe more beginner-friendly content. All right, I like that. More but help me out with what would constitute. So, because here, look, this is my idea. Something to do. There's one of the news shows that comes on in the evening, somebody says something about religion or morals or culture, and we go, well, that quote would give us a great opportunity to talk about things. And it and we could do that, I hope, at a beginner level. But maybe I'll have to find some examples of that. All right, so I like that. Maybe more beginner-friendly content, but I need some help. What would be good beginner-friendly content?
We need some ideas.
Okay, sorry, I am too politically incorrect. No, it's not that, Michael. You're an awesome dude, Michael. All right.
Shawnovision says he likes Lupe's idea about recent events and issues. He'd welcome Catholic commentary and opinion.
How about Cy Kellett's news magazine? I like that. Maybe a crash course on the Summa as a starter. That's excellent idea, Liz. That's beginner content, which is weird because the Summa is an introductory book.
I remember when my philosophy professor says, it's kind of sad when you go back and you realize that Thomas Aquinas said this is just a beginner level summary of
the state of theology and philosophy. Yeah, right. But the craziest title to a book ever is Introduction to Christianity by Joseph Ratzinger.
Yes. Hey, you start with chapter 1, and you're like, I'm lost.
It's about Christianity, but introduction? What are you talking about? Introduction to Christianity. Edgar, Cy, and the Catholic Eye. Okay.
That's the lens thing.
That was on JCap. That's who On With JCap wrote that. I'm not asking you to title the show. I'm asking what content should we have. I'm not inviting any of you to the meeting except maybe Liz and Lupe. They could come. Liz and was there somebody else that we liked? Oh yeah. Here All About Hugs has this. Even the higher level reviews are great for beginners like me to hear, but I often get lost when the speaker isn't bridging the gap, when they assume we already know versus what I actually know. LOL. I'm totally down with that. I agree with that completely. We could. All right, we'll use that. Stay away from shrooms. I gotta read these before I read them out loud.
Yeah, probably not a good idea to just cold-handedly read them. Helpful Hero says the wonderful world of iconography, windows to heaven, and the saints would be fun.
Oh, that would be fun.
Also, the history of
Slovakia.
No, history of Slavonic in the church too.
Oh, okay. We're going to have to get somebody who knows that. But yeah.
We're asking the wrong person.
How about a series on Introduction to the Devout Life? Graham. I'm sorry. I think Graham might be the winner so far because Introduction to the Devout Life, one of the greatest books in Christian history, of course, by, never mind. I was like, help me out, Darren. Why am I drawing a blank? All I have in my head is St. Charles Borromeo.
Francis de Sales?
Francis de Sales. I couldn't get St. Charles Borromeo. Once the wrong answer goes in, Francis de Sales. No papal posse, prayerful posse, world over. Wait, not papal posse. Okay, yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. Not a big fan of the papal posse. Anybody want to talk about that? We can talk about that if you want. This chat is chaotic.
I think Cy's having a little bit of fun. All we really need now are just super chats to really throw it in the mix.
Yeah, super chats today. No, but I like doing a little thing on Introduction to the Devout Life. We could do it bit by bit. We could also do Thomas Kempis's imitation of Christ.
Okay.
I like it. More ideas. What else should we do?
What about
for the show?
What's the booklet, Conformity to God's Will, or what's that? What am I thinking about? I keep forgetting the name of it.
Is the one that Chris Check was talking about in the meeting?
I don't know. I read it a few years back when
Graham, my bishop suggested it to me. Oh, okay, Graham. I dig it. Your bishop is wise. Great book.
Conformity to the Will of God by St. Alphonsus de Liguori.
Oh.
That's good.
I've never read Liguori. I'm embarrassed
Really?
to say that. No. Introduction to the Devout Life is an intro in the same way as Introduction to Christianity. That is a good look at this graph. That is a good point. Not quite. I don't know. Maybe that's the case. I don't know.
On with JCap. We already have a book club with Catholic Answers.
Yeah, tell them about the Catholic Answers book club, JCap.
I don't actually know a lot about the book club, but I know we have a book club.
You go to shop.catholic.com.
Okay.
You just type in book club and find yourself a member of the book club. A book club is a good idea. Goodness knows why we've been giving enough books away. Yeah, we have. We give a lot of books away because we have a donor that helps us give those books away. And I found out that the author, when we give those books away, still gets a small royalty for the books that are given away. So we will be giving away 1 million copies of How to Talk About Jesus with Anyone in the coming year. 1 million copies. Even if you got 10 cents a copy for 1 million copies, how much would that be? That's $100,000, right? One.
I don't do math.
Yeah, it's $100,000. 10 cents a copy. 10% of 1 million is.
I'm not going to even try.
Okay,
I don't
more
do math.
positive content. More positive content. I like that. Helping viewers learn about the similarities and differences between Catholicism and other religions is always good if evangelization is the goal. I like it. That's how I found this channel. I'm personally
You're playing it.
What?
You're
What?
playing it.
I'm not playing it.
Google thought we were talking to it.
So Google is talking to us right now?
Yeah.
Google, I have a suggestion for you. Shut up.
It says Catholicism is a branch of Christianity founded on the belief in God as the Holy Trinity.
No, that is not true. You got it wrong
See,
right from the beginning.
this is what's
Catholicism is not a branch of Christianity. We're not a branch like my local bank is
That's
a
scary.
branch.
That's scary. My phone was everything was shut off, and it thought we said, "Hey," and then the word, and it immediately started listening to us. That's scary.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
All About Hugs continues. I'm personally very turned off by channels that poop all over other religions. Well, yeah, could you watch your language there? But okay. Even other Christian religions. Doesn't feel like a safe place to learn anything to me. Oh, I love what you're saying. Even as a Muslim. Wait, are you a Muslim? I'm confused by that. But this channel has never made me feel like that, but others definitely. Well, now I'm confused if you're Muslim or Christian or other, All About Hugs, but you're welcome to tell us if you want. Why do people hate math so much? Liz, get on topic. We will all get snacks and you can read to us. I like that. Show idea, smoke 1 million cigarettes. That's a terrible idea. All hail the Lord of the Buttons. Can we... the NSA is listening. I am a Muslim. Okay, finally I got to a comment that actually was helpful. Thank you very much, YouTube. I am a Muslim, said All About Hugs. Okay, All About Hugs. I'd like to get to know you sometime, how you ended up here. Because I don't know if you know this, All About Hugs, but the show is called Catholic Answers. And so it would be interesting to me, how did a Muslim person end up here checking it out? My nickname in college was Math Mike. Again,
Michael Morgan, come on.
All right.
Helpful Hero says, suffering for Christ, the history of cultures that we fought to keep the faith would be also good.
Yeah. That gives me an idea, too, that one of the themes of the show could be resistance, because we need to resist the world more than we are. Christians are not properly resisting the world in many cases. We just let it in. We just flow with it.
I think there has to be a balance between not being weird and resisting the culture. Because the problem is you have people who resist and they're just complete outsiders. And how do you evangelize when you're a complete outsider, when you're not willing to be let in?
Right.
So I think that's why we have to partake in some of the culture.
That's an excellent point, Edgar.
We have to partake. Thank you. Finally,
I never thought you were going to actually contribute to this show, but that was pretty good. That's an excellent point.
Yeah.
I think you're right. We got to avoid being alien to the people who are around us. So, like, you don't have to resist, Halloween. Go out and have fun.
Yeah.
But you do have to resist HBO. There's some things you do need to be a little tougher in resisting. I would like to point out the best content of this show, and I say this if you're Catholic, if you're a non-Catholic Christian, the best content for this show came from a Muslim today. So I hope you all are ashamed of yourselves. That you
You have to read All About Hugs' comment, by the way.
to change my heart to see him as a son of God. It said, wait, I struggle with my faith. I feel like I don't fit well into any religion, but I wish I did. I grew up knowing Jesus as a revered prophet of God, and I can't seem to change my heart to see him as the son of God, etc. Oh, all right. Well, we have a cure for this, all about hugs, but it's entirely up to you whether you would like to take the cure. What you do, if you would like to accept Jesus as the Son of God, is you say, Jesus, please reveal yourself to me as the Son of God. You can say that in the midst of a whole bunch of other prayers, or you could just say that. Now, I'm not saying it like, I'm not trying to say those exact words. What you do is you ask, because I'm not trying to give you a magic formula. All right, I'm not a magician, but the truth is that if we are in the place where our heart wants Jesus revealed to us as the Son of God, at that point, asking is very helpful, because he himself said, and you said you revere him as a prophet, so what he said is the truth. He said, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find. So this is a good thing to ask for, because he wants to give that to you. So I would be very interested, all about hugs, if you've done that, or if you and you're waiting, which is okay. It's okay to just wait for the answer once you've done it. You don't have to do it a million times. Jesus doesn't. He's really good at remembering things. He does not need reminders. Although persistence in prayer is good, a certain also kind of unshakable confidence is also really good. If I asked, he'll get to it. I am Catholic, but I am considering leaving since the Catholic. This is a different one, Grace. Because since the Catholic Church in the current USA administration appears to be, in the current USA administration. Grace, let's talk again, because I have to go, and Edgar's going to talk for a few minutes. But can you come back to the show? I think everybody here would love it if we could have that conversation. This is what I think. We're not afraid of conversations. We want to have those conversations. So Grace says, I am Catholic, but I am considering leaving since the Catholic Church in the current U.S. administration appears to be racist. We don't want you to leave, and we certainly don't support racism or the implication of racism or anything like that. So I would say that's a fruitful ground for conversation. Edgar, excuse me for a moment. When I come back, we'll do a live show. William Albrecht, Ask Me Anything.
That's right. All right. So this is the show.
No. Is it why aren't you Catholic?
Why aren't you Catholic with William Albrecht? So as we prepare for this next hour, I have 3 minutes to share a little message. Johnny, give me the close-up shot so it feels like I'm actually doing my own show here just for a second. There we go. Now we're talking. So, as you know, here at Catholic Answers, what do? Apologetics and evangelization. What you'll see around Catholic Answers in the one Bible verse that we always quote. You can ask almost anybody walking around these halls. They'll quote to you 1 Peter 3:15. That's one of our mottos. That's one of the things that we use for our Society 315 Donors Club, the Defenders. There's a reason why we use it, because Catholic Answers in our approach, what we do is we have to always prepare to defend the faith, but there's a way how we go about it. So let me read to you 1 Peter 3:15 and 16. I'll include that as well. But in your hearts sanctify Christ as Lord. Always be ready to make your defense to anyone who demands from you an account for the hope that is in you. Yet do it with gentleness and reverence. Keep your conscience clear so that when you are maligned, those who abuse you for your good conduct in Christ may be put to shame. When you walk around, whether it's with the crucifix or you're a representative of Christ, I know that whenever I walk out of here, even if I'm not wearing the Catholic Answers logo, we are representatives of Christ. Everything we do has to be with that clear conscience. You never know who's watching. You never know who's listening. You are a representative of Christ. You never know when the person that you are encountering in front of you, or maybe there's a person next to you who's listening in to the conversation, how they portray you could be how they portray Christ. If you are a Catholic, if you are a Christian, if you're a representative of Jesus, you always have to be prepared to make that defense, but always do it with joy, with gentleness, and reverence. That is the message of Catholic Answers. That is the message that all of us should do, especially those of you who live on the internet, because we all know how nasty the internet can be. And it's just insane how much liberty people take to speak in ways that you would never catch them saying in person, things in person. So always remember 1 Peter 3:15, do it with joy, do it with reverence, defend your faith, but always remember that the people that you're encountering are encountering Jesus through you. Never forget that. And we will be right back in about 1 minute to begin the show. Thank you.